Spencer, your turn, the mayor says. And I say, okay, yes. So I vote yes. I'm like, all right, we got this, guys. We did it. You know, I'm not super happy with everything.
Your stuff up.
Yeah, I do.
Getting your papers.
Yeah. I'm like, here we go. I did. I had all my shelf of papers. I'm like, yes, like a hoorah, like we did it. Okay.
Putting your important documents in there.
Goes to the next person. I'm like, what? No. Here we go. Hey, let's go. Welcome to the show. It's me, Spencer.
And me, Brandon.
Brandino.
I feel like when you say it's me, Spencer, that like sounds like a cool DJ name, and then I say I'm Brandon. Like, I don't know. Brandon's not.
Is Spencer a cool DJ name?
I don't know about a cool DJ name, but it sounds professional. And then I'm Brandon. That I always feel like it's a letdown.
I disagree, but I think because I feel like Spencer is a pretty nerdy name and a certain type. But that's kind of you to say. All the Brandons I know are also a type, I guess. They're Brandons.
Yeah.
But
we're all
not necessarily nerds. They're just... How would you describe a Brandon? I guess it's also like Karen kind of got ruined by being a Karen. Let's go Brandon kind of hurt Brandons.
Yeah, it did.
So, what do you do? Well, we have this segment on this podcast called Old News, and sometimes I'll check out This Day in History website from Britannica. Do you remember Britannica? Didn't they used to have books?
World Book Britannica?
Yeah, like encyclopedias we used to have in our house.
Encyclopedia Britannica, yeah.
Yeah,
you used to have to go look it up in a book whenever you wanted to learn something. Now it's all in the palm of your hand, so fast.
Today is Valentine's Day that we're recording this, so I thought, you know what? Let's look at where Valentine's Day came from. Brandon probably knows, but No,
I don't. I mean, it's called Saint Valentine's Day, so I just kind of chalk it up with like Saint Patrick's Day, where there's some guy did something interesting, and
they gave him a day.
And there's a ton of saints, and so I don't know why there's just these two that are the most popular. But so go ahead and enlighten me.
Today is Valentine's Day, the feast day of Saint Valentine, a priest and physician who was martyred about 270 CE. I can't remember what CE is. Is that BC? The new BC?
No, that's CE, because it's BCE is before Common Era.
Common Era. So
and Common Era is now.
Oh, Common Era is now. Gotcha. So it's the old AD.
Correct.
Okay. So 270 CE in Rome, and the tradition of exchanging greetings of love on Valentine's Day is based on the legend that Valentine had signed a letter to his jailer's daughter with whom he had fallen in love, from your Valentine.
Oh.
So that's
it?
That we have a whole holiday. Yeah, according to Britannica.
Wow. Can I ask you a question?
I'd love it.
Let me get close here.
You've been very close today.
Sorry.
You're very zoomed in today. Do you want me to get in close too?
No. I do appreciate the heads up about Valentine, but you mentioned the dating, like you said, it was like 27 B or CE, right?
270.
270. At what point and what were the years called before that? Because you know what I mean? Like in the year 10 CE, what were they saying the year was? They weren't like, you remember that Christ guy. Let's
Yeah.
start doing time by him. When did when did that happen? And then what were the times called before that?
I
That's for
think.
another podcast, but
Oh, you want
uh
another? I'm already Googling it. The short answer, according to a quick Google search about AD, CE, BC, and BCE, is
uh-huh.
the short answer is that BC and BCE both refer to years before the birth of Jesus Christ, and AD and CE both refer to years after the birth of Jesus Christ. So it's still around the birth of Christ, but
Yes, but
they
what
wanted.
if I was, let's say I'm a Roman walking around 15 years after Christ, was martyred,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I'm like, "Oh, what's today's date? What am I writing down? Is it like the 5th year of the reign of Julius, or what? How are they calculating time back then?"
That's a great question. Um,
Well, that just
so
popped
are
in my head. Sorry to derail us, but I do also want to know, were there any
all
zip
right.
codes in ancient Rome? No,
A zip code callback. I like it.
yeah.
Still curious about everyone's feedback on zip codes. Look at this. We can share screen. So this is what we got. The secular terms and the Christian terms. And so you're concerned about this point right here?
Yeah, well, no,
Or
anywhere,
you
any
just
point.
before?
What about before Christ? What
Yeah.
what what were they calling those years? They're like, this is the 13th year of the reign of Xerxes.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Is that all they were?
What did they use before BC and AD?
Yeah.
Let's see here. The most common way to count the years was to tie the date to the current ruler, king, or emperor. So you're
Oh.
right. This is readily apparent in many ancient texts, including the Bible. Passages will begin with the phrase "in X year of the reign of Y ruler." Exactly what you said,
Oh.
Brandon. See, your instincts again, your intuition
I
is
am so
unmatched.
good. It is unmatched.
So there we
All right, well,
go.
back to Valentine. So he sent a message to his lover and said, "From your Valentine."
That's right. His probably
Well,
underage lover. Is that what it said? The daughter of the jailer. So it's all founded on some weird
listen,
infatuation with his
age is
last love.
just a number.
Yeah, well, at a certain point, that's true.
Oh, I see.
Once they're of age.
Yeah, you're
But yeah,
probably
so
right.
there you go. Happy Valentine's Day. Do something fun for your person. Uh, I never felt like we were big Valentine's Day celebrators, but this year Bree texted me and was like, "So you got to ask me to be your Valentine. You can't just assume." And I was like, "Wait, what? When have we ever?" Anyway, so I asked her. She said yes.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
thank you. I just thought it was fun now that we celebrate Valentine's Day. I guess you've always been a Valentine's Day celebrator. I feel like
I mean, I don't go overboard, but yeah, I always make sure that we're gonna go and
you go get dinner. You go usually do something.
yeah, we do something. I'll get flowers and I don't buy a gift like flowers and chocolates or something. Uh, Traditional
Classic. Yeah.
Valentine stuff. Carrie gave me a meter long thing filled of Twinkies. So that was
Wow.
it says I love you this much, and then it's 18 Twinkies. And so what I think is that she wants me to eat those, and then I become that size. And
More to love. Then
more to
you're more to
love, yes.
love.
She's like, I want more of that. And
Yeah.
so
Who
that's her
doesn't?
plan to
I
get them.
don't know the last time I had a Twinkie was,
Oh, I
but
love
I
Twinkies. I mean,
remember
it
them
was a
being
good
delicious.
gift.
Do you remember Chocodiles? They were the chocolate covered Twinkies.
Yeah, well,
Loved
maybe
those.
I never had a chocolate. I'm thinking of the Swiss rolls,
Oh
actually,
yeah,
when you
those
say
are good
that.
too. Swiss
I
rolls
never
are good.
liked how the chocolate flaked off of them, but
Of the
when
Swiss
you
roll
when
or
you
the
when you bite into it and like the hard chocolate just like breaks and
Oh, I love
comes
that.
apart. Yeah. Oh, you love that? You like to
Well,
take
back
it
in the
off a
day,
piece
I
at a
did
time.
when I was a kid. The Chocodiles would do the same thing, and you could take off the
Yeah.
chocolate. So, anyway, the other
Well,
exciting thing I thought happened in 2005, and that was these three guys registered YouTube as a website for sharing videos. That happened in 2005 is when YouTube was registered.
so almost 20 years. The funny thing is, when you said 2005, I thought in my mind, oh, about 10 years ago. But
Yeah, not too long.
but
Nope,
but
it
then
was
when
a
I did the
lot.
actual math, I realized it was 19. That is a long time.
That is a long time. So anyway, YouTube, the
YouTube.
number one streamer.
Wow.
Love it. We're available on YouTube. If you search Spencer RV, you'll see a link to our podcast episodes there.
Think about the uh-oh. Think about uh the invention of the internet and all of the different things that were clamoring to fill the space of internet. So and what things have fallen by the wayside. So there was YouTube, but I'm sure there was some other video streaming service
Yeah.
like YouTube. What was it? There's Amazon. There was other I can kind of remember, I can't remember the names of them.
Overstock.
Like, yeah, and things like that that were like Amazon that have fallen by the wayside. Facebook, I mean, there's MySpace, right? Which is the
MySpace.
original, but then Facebook kind of overtook it and it fell away. That's kind of interesting to think about, like what things disappeared, like what were the
Yeah.
first things. And that's kind of like whenever there's a new technology, like Blu-rays. When Blu-rays
And
first came out,
yes, and
there was
HD.
HD DVDs, and I didn't know which one to buy. Like, what am I going to invest in? Because
Yeah.
one of these is not going to stick around. We know that people are going to gravitate to one thing or another, right? And so,
Right.
what do you go for? I think
Please
we're
tell me
kind of hitting that.
you went for HD.
No,
You
actually, I never did. Actually,
like this is the one.
I don't know what made me choose. You know what it was is that I had an Xbox 360 and it didn't play, and that's Microsoft was going HD
Yeah.
DVDs, but you had to
Yeah.
buy an attachment to put onto it to make it play it. But then we were looking at, like, if I bought that, then it cost a certain amount. But then if I just bought a PlayStation, which had a
Yep, you could do
built-in
Blu-rays.
Blu-ray player, I was like,
Yes.
I get the PlayStation and a Blu-ray player. I might as well
Yeah,
just
that
get
is
that.
what it
And so,
is. Because I think that's what decided us too, is we got a PlayStation, so we could
so if
just do Blu-ray.
Microsoft would have just put a HD DVD player into the Xbox 360, the world could have been so different.
So different. In another universe, that happened.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch the Marvel What If
Yeah.
series?
We haven't finished this last season. We only watched a couple episodes of it so far. I got to get back in there and finish it out, but yeah.
Okay, well, we won't talk too much about it. I like hate watch it, basically. Like I don't love it. I didn't love the first season.
Hate watch
I
it.
feel like it got worse as it progressed, and I was just like,
Oh.
ugh, I can't get it. I can't. But this season 2, I liked all the episodes leading up to the end, and then I was like, ah, you
Oh.
did it to me. So not my jam, but I'm glad it's in a different universe, so it's not real.
Yeah, it's not. Well, and it's not real to begin with. So.
Well, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a good story for you, Brandon. Old Brandon. This is some spilling some tea of the Clinton City. I got told because I was like, city manager person. I have this mildly successful podcast that I talk on.
You told the city manager this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, he's like, oh yeah, I've seen you advertise for it. I'm like, yeah, you should probably listen to it sometime. But I was like, so what can I say on it and what can't I say? Because all our meetings are public, so it's just my perspective of things. He's like, that's it. You just can't say anything where you're speaking on behalf of the city. And I was like, well, I would never do that. So here's the disclaimer. Everything I say is coming from my mouth, my perspective of the events and what happened.
Yes.
But Yeah, I'm not speaking on behalf of Clinton City. I'm speaking as Spencer. So,
Private citizen Spencer in his
city
geek
councilman
room.
Spencer,
Oh,
but
okay.
but not as representing Clinton City people,
Okay.
just myself. So, you ready for this?
Well, first of all, let me just check one thing before you get started. When you were speaking about on the news the other day, were you speaking as Councilman RV or
No,
private citizen? Oh,
it
okay.
was private citizen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what the city manager said. He's like, well, if you do it like you did your interview, no one will think you're speaking on behalf of the city. And I'm like, what does that mean?
No one would even
Rude.
guess that you're.
People would just laugh me off. Hey, I am a city councilman. Ha, sure, buddy. What's that supposed to mean? So housing in Utah is a big crisis.
Yes.
Apparently, so I'm told. So they want us to build a bajillion houses everywhere so that people can come live here, which is a fun debate because do we want people living here? Apparently, we want our kids to stay here and they need a place to live and buy a house. So anyway, the past 6 months, they've been working on this new city code to allow for builders to come in and build stuff. Because currently in Clinton, you can only build these like single family houses. And people want to build townhouses and apartments. So Spencer runs his campaign. People ask him about it. I say, I don't want apartments, so we'll just do houses. And the townhouses just need to be the biggest townhouses they can be. So it's close to like a real house. Okay. So that's what I run on. That's what we go. So I hop in to city council, get elected, and instantly am in the middle of this whole debate because we've got these builders that are trying to purchase this land to build as many houses as they can so that they can make as much money as they can. And then we have these other areas in Clinton that eventually could get sold by the farmers that own them, and then they would turn them into houses. So we have to put in this code or law on how they can do that. So it's basically changing. Instead of just doing these single family houses, you can now have townhouses and apartments.
Those zoning laws of
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
acceptable within the city limits of Clinton.
Exactly. Zoning laws.
Okay.
Perfect. So anyway, we've had tons of meetings. We've hinted at it on this podcast, like a couple of them. Well, just one of them went till like midnight. Others have gone till like 10 o'clock. So we were all fighting over it. They got pretty divided, right? So there's 5 city council people and then the mayor. The mayor can't vote or anything, but he kind of mediates and gives his opinion and what's the word? Facilitates the meetings. Then you got us 5. So there was 2 of us, me and this other person that were kind of like on, I don't know, one team, I guess you could say. We didn't agree with everything, but overall we were like this team. Then there was these 2 other people that agreed most of the time, so they kind of became this other team. And then there's this one guy that was right down the middle. And in these meetings, we get to our final meeting, which was a couple weeks ago, where we were fine-tuning those zoning laws, and it got pretty exciting in terms of like people yelling at each other and
oh boy,
getting all feisty. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And when they would ask me things, I'm like, if it was up to me, we wouldn't change anything, and we would just keep the houses we have because that's what I've been told the Clinton people want.
Yeah,
and of course that gets shot down immediately. And so I'm like, I guess give and take. Well, we end that meeting, and few people were upset, but as with any good compromise, I think everybody leaves a little upset, right? Because if somebody's super happy, that means they got most of what they wanted, which would make somebody not as happy because they didn't get as much. So you want everybody to kind of leave a little frustrated. Okay, so that's to set the stage to get into the city council meeting. We had our city council meeting where we were voting on the things that we had just spent months working on, right? The new zoning laws. So
I thought that you showed me the agenda and that was being postponed until a future date. Was that not true?
That was the like property agreement for this group that wants to build these houses on this plot of land. So they want the new zoning to go a certain way so they can build more houses. So that got postponed to after this last item.
Okay.
So we burn through our agenda. We're like 30 minutes into the meeting and we get to this final agenda item. So I was excited, like, oh, we're gonna get home in like an hour. This is awesome because we've spent months and hours working on this that everyone agrees, right?
Right.
So we go through and we fine tune a few things. And it didn't get too heated because again, we had all agreed on things, but there was some discussion about verbiage and stuff, which is not super exciting. And I'll tell you what, my seat is right in front of the camera, like far away, right? You got the zoom camera coming, so it shows everything, and I'm like directly sight, so it helps me stay like focused. Otherwise, I like kind of check out on occasion. We get to the vote, and this is where it gets exciting. We get our 4 main options, right? Where it's like, okay, we've talked about these. These are the final changes. Option A, are we going to do this? And so we go around the table and everyone kind of votes and agrees on it. We're like, okay, 2, 3, 4. We all agree on all these new changes. So now we're going to vote on the final thing to make this code a law, basically, right?
So you've agreed on all the pieces of it.
Yeah, we started agreeing on all the pieces.
Saying, but do we actually want to do it?
Right. Yeah. So we get to this point. Okay. So again, I'm kind of just keep reiterating that we've all agreed. Like we finally got to a place where we all agree. So we get into the final voting, and how the voting works for our city council is like we're all in a seat around the little stage thing. I forget what it's called. The dais, I think is what it's called. And I sit on the farthest left of the mayor, so I usually start the vote, and then the next person goes, and then when we have a new vote, he goes to the person next to me, and then I would be the last vote. That way, it's just kind of rotating instead of always me first or whatever. It's this other guy on the far right's turn to vote first, according to my count. So the mayor's like, "All right, let's vote on this. Let's do this. Let's see if we have our new Clinton City code." So he's like, "Spencer, you're up first." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." My person on the right, they're kind of like, uncomfortable or whatever. Like I can tell they're not super confident in what's happening. Yeah. And I just think, oh no, like what's happening? And they had made a comment 2 minutes before this vote that they didn't know these two zoning things were going to be voted together. So I guess they wanted it separate. So you have a base zone and you have an overlay zone. So the base is what everyone has to follow. And then if you want like more density, you can apply for this overlay by giving the city like more green space or prettier buildings or things like that. And if you give us those things, then you can build more. So like the base would be like 8 units per acre. But if you want to get to 12, then you have to give us more park space or pretty buildings and stuff like that. Okay. So I guess they wanted them to be 2 separate. And in my mind, we've always been working at them together. So we come to the vote, and Spencer, your turn, the mayor says. And I say, okay, yes. So I vote yes. I'm like, all right, we got this, guys. We did it. I'm not super happy with everything.
Your stuff up.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Getting your papers.
Yes. I'm like, here we go. I did. I had all my shuffle papers. I'm like, yes, like a hoorah, like we did it. Okay.
Putting your important documents in there.
Goes to the next person. I'm like, what? No. If they were separate, I would have voted for one and then not this other, and we would have gone back to work for it. But since they're both together, I'm going to have to vote no for both of them. And I'm like, oh no. No. So it goes to person number 3, and they say yes. I'm like, okay, 2-1. And then it goes to the next person who got in with me. And so he says yes. So now passes 3 to the 1 no. So then we get to the last person. Okay. And his vote doesn't matter, essentially, right? Because we've already got a majority yes passed. And you have to know, the first one that said no has been on one side of the team, right?
Yeah.
And this last person is on the other side of the team. Uh-huh. So one would think if Team A person voted no, Team B person would vote yes, right? I don't know.
You say your vote doesn't matter.
Yeah,
sir.
30 seconds. And I'm like, what is happening? And this last person goes, nope, voting a no. And I'm like, what the I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh boy.
These two had made such a stink about everything.
Yeah.
To then be the ones that don't approve what we've done. I was like, are you kidding me? So after I like talked to both of them, right? And I was just like, so, what's the deal? And one was like, well, I'm voting my conscience. I just couldn't, I've talked to too many people and 12 units is just too many for Clinton from people. So I went with my conscience and I just couldn't. And I was like, okay, whatever. Well, but that we had to have a settlement. And if it would have not passed, it's not going to come down from 12, right? Like this is as good a negotiating as we were going to get with our current group of city people. Then I go talk to the other guy and I'm like, this is my opinion of what happened. I will say again. But by voting no and agreeing with this other person, they are both running in a couple years. So now he can say, oh yeah, well, not giving the satisfaction that person was the only one that said no.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of play both sides. Like either one, I voted no because I wanted more and I didn't get it. Or, well, I voted no, everybody.
I'm not smart enough to figure out political moves of like thinking that far ahead.
Well, I'm so naive and new. I was just like, no, we all agreed. Like you want everybody to be on the same page, right? Yeah. Like best case scenario, we all agree. And so I was just like, are you kidding me? And I was unhappy because to me it just feels like they backed out and then we all said yes, like we're the idiots that just got elected and we're like, yeah, we'll do it. Let's change all of Clinton.
I don't know what we're doing, but yeah, these two told us it was good. They said it was good, and then they say,
I was so I'm still not super over it, but anyway. It all passed. I think it'll be fine. Like, honestly, I think the current builders, because I was more when I first got in, I was more upset that the builders, we were just going to pass their proposal and it wouldn't apply to our zoning or code and they get to do whatever they want, basically. So I wanted to come up with rules that they had to change and they do, and they have to play by them. And I think it's a win. But I was just that whole political, I was like, really? So this is a political game, huh? This is what we do.
That's what you signed up for, man.
I know. Well, now I know. I'm starting to learn. Anyway, all that to say, it's probably not as juicy as you wanted it to be, but if you were there,
no, it was not as juicy. I was hoping it was going to be like people were getting their wigs torn off and like all that sort of stuff.
You will be proud of me, though. I told a couple funny jokes, like the mayor, because. I think it's Robert's Rules of Order or whatever, where you have to like say I second it and I make a motion to blah blah blah. So some of these blah blah blahs were getting pretty long, and the mayor's like, I learned you with that. I'll just read it and then you just make the motion as so moved. And so he says this long one, and again I kind of like checked out here and there. And so after he's done reading it, we don't really take turns, but at some point it would be like my turn to make the motion. So I felt it was my turn. So I said, I'll make the motion because I'm so moved. And he's like, because you're so moved or so moved. I'm like, you just moved me so much, Mayor.
Oh, wow.
Proposal. And then people laughed. It was funny and they chuckled.
Wow.
So you'd be proud.
I'm humor to the city council.
I'm the funny guy, which is hard. I mean, you've been the funny guy your whole life, and
that's true.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. I think I used to be a lot funnier than I am now, but the pressure got to me, and I took a step back and said, I gotta sober up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm the funny guy on the council now. That's what they think. So
it's tricky though, because you get into situations where you are supposed to not be the funny guy, but then but that's who you are. And so then you have this existential crisis.
I see.
Of like, what do I need to do? I went through that as a missionary. And maybe I'll dig up my journal because I really did
You had a
have a
real
real,
existential crisis.
yeah. Well, I had somebody tell me it was one of the other missionaries like you can't be so friendly and fun with everybody. They need to respect you. And I'm like, well, they're talking to me and they're not
Yeah.
talking to you. And but on the other
Says the
hand,
guy that nobody likes.
exactly that. But anyway, and but for you as a city councilman, you'd think I need to now button it down. But here you are,
I'm
cracking
loose.
wise
I
up
did
on
a
the
couple
dais.
times. I can't remember the other jokes, but I made the crowds laugh. So I'm like, now it's just a comedy show because apparently you can make it up as you go, according to some of
Yeah,
these people. Just change your mind when it
just
matters. So what
willy-nilly.
do I care? I'm just trying to be
Yeah,
the funny guy now.
yeah. Well,
So anyway, I had to also
well,
kind of vent about it because I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what just happened here?"
yeah. If you're there till midnight the other day because those two were,
Going at it.
at odds, and now they're
So they didn't
they're
even need to be
voting
at odds.
together.
Like, you didn't even need to talk about it the whole time. We could have just
Yeah.
done our thing. Anyway.
Oh well.
All right. Well, sorry, that's not juicy for you people. Like, we can cut back on the city council team, but Clinton City, you can go to clintoncity.net, look up our agendas, and we have it on Zoom. You can watch all our meetings live.
Wow.
So that'll be fun. All right, Brandon, you got a word of wisdom for us as we kind of wrap things up?
I think there's been kind of a theme in my words of wisdom of like going through hardships and stuff like that. But so this week I am kind of wrapping that up with the last thing I'll say about that.
You
This is a quote. This is a quote from Michael J. Fox. You guys know who that is? If
Yes,
you
I
look
think most people do.
down to the
Well, I
left
did.
of of Spencer. There he is, right there, Michael J. Fox. Ooh, there's
There's
also
Brandon.
it's me. Yeah, there's a reflection of me. There's Michael J. Fox. Anyway, he said, "Family is not an important thing; it's everything." Oh, and so I think that that's true. It's not just the most important thing or an important thing in your life. It is your life. It is everything. And as you're going through anything in life, good times are better with your family. Bad times, you're supported by your family. Normal times, you want to make sure that your family is top of the docket there as far as what you're focusing on and and that will help you in your life if you have a good family, good support and all that. So family is not an important thing, it's
It's a-
everything.
How would you define family? Like,
Well,
just your closest group of people? I don't.
I
Or
think, well, there was another quote too. I'm kind of looking for a family one, but I can't remember who it was that said it. But it's like family is not just what you're born into, but the people you find as well. And so there's definitely people that you might just say that they're your friends or best friends, but in actuality, they are family to you. They're people that you would esteem as such. You know what I mean? So I don't say blood is the end all of family, but I do think that you need to make sure that those relationships are as strong or stronger than your external ones as well.
I
What
like
do you
it.
think?
No, I totally agree. I think it's just the people you've chosen and can trust and you have the good times with, but you can also lean on if you need them through a
Yeah,
hardship. So
right.
I agree. Look at that. The wrap up, the pin, or the nail in it, the conversation for
Yeah,
hardships.
yeah.
Can't wait for your
Hmm.
next round. See what you
I don't
do.
know. What is it going to be? Who knows?
Existentialism.
Existential. Okay. I'll look
Yeah.
up.
How to overcome, your midlife crisis and
Yes.
all that. Because
Oh,
most of our
yeah.
listeners are 28 to 40-year-olds, so they could
That's
approach
not
it at any.
midlife. That's approaching midlife, I guess.
Yeah, so they need to be
Yeah.
prepared.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this episode. It's a letdown. We did mention zip codes, though. So,
Yes.
it's
For all you
still
zip
good.
code fans.
Still have a pull up on our last episode. I need to know who found that they learned something from the last episode.
Who made it past the zip code section to get to the drug bust section?
Oh, man. Well,
look who I got a visitor.
Oh, look at that cutie.
This is Percy.
Percy. So happy. We'll do an episode where it's just our cats with us.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun. So thanks for listening to this episode of Life LOL. We are found anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Amazon. That's a new one. We're also on YouTube, like I mentioned earlier, but you can find us on Instagram at life.lol.podcast. You can follow Brandon at Bigfoot's Beard if he approves you. To follow him.
I'm not private, so.
Oh, wow.
Get in there.
I went private so I can control the crazy Clintonians that want to follow me.
Yeah.
You can find me at Spencer RV. That's spelled ARAVE. I used to say V as in Violet, and I got told that's very feminine. It should be V as Victor. So,
you should say violent.
V as in Violet.
Yeah.
V as in
if they say, did you say violet? You say no, violet.
Violet. I like voluptuous. Voluminous. But yeah, Brandon, any last parting goodbyes or anything?
Just goodbye.
All right, we hope all your dreams come true. Okay,